Freddy Krueger is widely regarded as the quintessential embodiment of the boogeyman, and some would argue that he represents the ultimate manifestation of this enduring legend. However, there is a chilling reality that underlies Wes Craven's highly successful franchise, one that is even more harrowing than the fictional horror that it portrays. When Freddy Krueger was first unleashed upon the cinematic world in 1984, audiences were caught off guard, unsure of what to expect. But after experiencing A Nightmare on Elm Street, our collective psyche was forever altered. Craven's masterful ability to tap into the deepest recesses of our subconscious fears is truly remarkable. By depicting a villain who can enter our dreams and terrorize us with the intention of ending our lives, Craven created a form of horror that is both highly personal and undeniably terrifying. The origins of Freddy Krueger's villainy are truly bone-chilling.
Every town has an Elm Street.
While the backstory created for his character in this film is undeniably horrific, it pales in comparison to the real-life inspiration behind it. In a 2014 interview with Vulture, Wes Craven shared that he had read an article in the Los Angeles Times about a family who had survived the killing fields in Cambodia. After fleeing to the US, their young son was haunted by terrifying nightmares in which he was relentlessly pursued by an evil entity. Desperately trying to avoid sleep, he eventually succumbed to exhaustion and was brutally attacked by a malevolent presence. Despite his pleas for help, his parents dismissed his claims as mere childish imaginings, a tragic and terrifying example of how real-life horrors can be even more terrifying than the most grotesque works of fiction. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and this became the cause of death among some of the Hmong refugee males living in America. 100 men in their early 30s died in their sleep, all of them healthy. It was also reported that shortly before their passing, they would cry out in their slumber. What was the cause for this rash of sudden demises? Much like Freddy Krueger, a Southeastern Asian evil spirit known as the Da Cha or Night Hag was thought to be the culprit. She appears to her intended victims in their sleep and pins them down. Thus, the person under her control struggles to get out from under her weight, and if they don't wake up, they can die. Years later, no one has been able to medically determine what has caused the deaths of those 100 men, considering prior to their passing, they exhibited no symptoms of heart disease, which makes their deaths even more chilling. In a haunting sequence, one by one they perished in their slumber, thousands of miles away from their homeland. The average age of the deceased was a mere 33 years old, with all but a single one of the 117 healthy individuals being men. Having arrived in the United States from Southeast Asia mere months prior, the majority of them were unfamiliar with American soil. During the early 1980s, the mortality rate from this perplexing ailment among the Hmong community was equivalent to the top 5 natural causes of death for other American men of the same age group. Despite the shared experience of displacement from Laos and a common cultural identity, these men were not tightly clustered geographically, making the root of their mysterious deaths even more confounding. Even the brilliant diagnostician House would have been left at a loss. The medical community assigned a name to the enigma, a label that trips with hopelessness, a dragon-like moniker on the fringes of the known medical realm. Sudden, unexpected nocturnal death syndrome, or SUNDS for short. Although SUNDS didn't aid in diagnosis or treatment, it facilitated tracking the periodic conferences dedicated to comprehending the issue. A quarter century later, Shelley Adler's latest book reconstructs the events, drawing from interviews with the Hmong population and scrutinizing the available scientific literature. Sleep paralysis, nightmares, nocebos, and the mind-body connection is a mind-bending investigation into how your beliefs interact with your body's functionality. Adler, a professor at the University of California, San Francisco, arrives at a stunning conclusion. In a way, the Hmong were slain by their convictions in the spirit world, even if the underlying cause of their demise was likely an obscure genetic cardiac arrhythmia that is widespread in Southeast Asia. By 1986, the Hmong deaths had decreased, but still remained a notable epidemiological phenomenon. During this time, Adler, a UCL graduate student studying traditional belief narratives, was researching nocturnal pressing spirit attacks, which is commonly referred to as sleep paralysis in scientific literature. Interestingly, sleep paralysis is a widespread experience across many cultures and is often associated with malevolent spirits that appear during the night. For instance, in Indonesia, it's called dijantan or pressed on, while in China, it's referred to as biguia or held by a ghost. The Hungarian term for this experience is bezorkani nyomas, meaning witch's pressure, while in Newfoundland, it's known as agraj or hag-ridden, with the spirit being called the old hag. The Dutch term nachtmerrie, meaning nightmare, comes closest to the English term. The word mare originates from the German mar, or Old Norse mara, which described a supernatural being, typically female, that in Adler's words, lay on people's chest, suffocating them. The etymology of mare isn't clear, but the term is a fruit of the Indo-European language tree, likely from maros, death, mur, drive out, or mar, to pound, bruise, crush. Across cultures, nightmare visits play out in very similar ways. Victims experience the strange feeling of being awake. While they have a realistic perception of their environment, they cannot move. Worse, they feel an overwhelming fear and dread, accompanied by chest pressure and difficulty breathing. Scientists have a pretty good grasp of how all this happens. After studying 3 different groups who suffered with IBS for 6 weeks with 3 different ways of treatment, all 3 groups got better, but the group that had a better relationship with their doctor improved the most. They felt better and had fewer symptoms compared to the other 2 groups. More than 60% of these patients said they felt better, which is as good as any medicine ever tested for IBS. The point of the study is not to prove that alternative medicine works, but to show that when we trust our doctors or our healing methods, our brains can make us feel better. This is because our brain and our body are connected, and our thoughts and feelings can affect how we physically feel. Placebos, fake treatments, can be especially helpful for conditions that are influenced by our thoughts and our feelings. For instance, my little brother, he always peed the bed. Mom took him to the doctor. He gave him sugar pills. He quit peeing the bed because he thought these pills were for his kidneys. Yes, placebos, fake treatment. And then there is the weird stuff, the old hag part, the nightmare. People who have an experience of sleep paralysis tend to feel some horrible, evil being is near them. I just knew this presence was there, an ominous presence. Not only could I not see it, but I couldn't defend myself. I couldn't do anything, one victim told Adler. This feeling is consistent across cultures, even if it goes by different names or presents itself differently across the cultures. One knows. Sleep paralysis is when your body is temporarily unable to move or speak when you're waking up or falling asleep. It's a common experience for many people around the world. The Hmong immigrants in the 1980s experienced something different called cha, meaning sleep demon, and chua, meaning to crush or press or to smother in the Hmong culture, which caused them to die in their sleep. Researcher Shelley Adler studied the Hmong and their experiences with the cha chua for many years, and her research is the basis of her book. Adler talked to many Hmong people and listened to their stories about sleep paralysis and cha chua. She even interviewed a 49-year-old person who shared their experience with her. The person explained that one night they went to sleep and turned off the lights and suddenly felt like they couldn't move their body. They couldn't see anything, but they knew it was the cha chua. They were very scared and they thought they might die. They didn't know who could help them. The researcher, Adler, used her knowledge of traditional belief systems to understand the attacks that the Hmong were experiencing. She discovered that these nighttime attacks were connected to a set of beliefs held by both animist and Christian Hmong. The Hmong had a strong folklore surrounding cha chua that included reasons for the attacks and ways to cure them. One man explained to Adler that when the Hmong didn't worship properly or perform religious rituals correctly, the ancestor spirits or village spirits would not protect them, making them vulnerable to evil spirits. During the late 1970s and early 1980s, the Hmong were not able to worship properly for various reasons. The Hmong people fought a war with the government of Laos with the help from the US during the Vietnam War. When the communists took over Laos, many Hmong moved to the US to avoid getting punished. The US government sent them to 53 different cities, which was different from how immigrants usually move. The Hmong eventually moved to California, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. They had a hard time adjusting to life in the US because it was very different from their home in Laos, and they faced problems like high unemployment and losing their sense of community. Some Hmong people believed that they didn't show enough respect to their ancestors, and this made them susceptible to bad dreams and nightmares caused by the cha chua spirits. When these nightmares started to happen, they usually needed a shaman to fix things. However, in some Hmong communities scattered around the country, there might not be a shaman available to help. Without access to traditional rituals, shamans, and specific locations, the Hmong were unable to protect themselves from these bad dreams caused by the spirits. Drawing on all this evidence, Adler makes the provocative claim that the Laotian immigrants of the 1980s were in some sense killed by their powerful cultural belief in night spirits, and it was not a simple process. Adler argues that when Hmong people experience severe and ongoing stress due to the changes in their culture and resettlement in the United States, they feel powerless about their existence and they may be more vulnerable to a dangerous condition called SUNDS. This is especially true if they believe that evil spirits have the power to kill people who don't fulfill their religious duties. In this situation, a Hmong man who is alone and facing the terrifying experience of a nightmare, which he believes wants to kill him, may die soon from SUNDS. Adler explains that the nocebo effect is the opposite of the placebo effect. The placebo effect is when someone feels better because they think they are taking medicine, even if the medicine isn't real. The nocebo effect is when someone feels worse because they think they are taking something harmful, even if it's not harmful. The nocebo effect is not studied as much as the placebo effect because it is not ethical to purposely harm someone. However, some studies show that the nocebo effect is real and can be powerful. For example, doctors have found that patients who feel anxious need more pain medicine after surgery than patients who do not feel anxious. Scientists have discovered that some people who believe they are sensitive to cell phone signals experience severe headaches when they are exposed to fake signals. Additionally, patients who believe strongly in the side effects of arthritis medication may experience those side effects even if the medication doesn't actually cause them. This suggests that beliefs can have a powerful effect on how our bodies respond to certain situations. Therefore, it makes sense to consider that belief may also have negative effects, and that the strength of those effects may be related to the strength of our beliefs, even if those beliefs are not based on science. For example, we might experience negative effects from believing in things like spirits or astrology. And if you're not sure that believing in negative outcomes can actually cause premature death, here's an example from China. Some researchers found that Chinese Americans with a certain disease and birth year, which traditional Chinese medicine and astrology consider to be unlucky, die earlier than expected. This means that if they were born in a year that was associated with poor lung health, they would on average die 5 years earlier from a lung-related disease than someone with the same disease born in a different year. This effect was not found in the white population around them. How much earlier they died depended on how much they believed in traditional Chinese culture. Let's try to explain this in simpler terms. There's a book called Local Biology that talks about how people's beliefs can affect their health. For example, if someone believes in Chinese astrology and was born under a bad sign, they might think that they'll die younger from certain diseases. And according to the book, if they really believe this, it might actually happen. This might seem strange, but the author argues that we shouldn't dismiss these beliefs just because they don't fit into what we think is logical. Instead, we should try to understand how different cultures and traditions can affect people's health in different ways. The way that we understand things and their meanings can have a real impact on our bodies. However, different cultures have different meanings for things, so the way our biology reacts can be different depending on the culture that we come from. Even though we don't fully understand how our beliefs affect our biology, studying sleep paralysis can help us explore the connection between our minds and our bodies. Sleep paralysis is a common experience across cultures, but the specific details and intensity of our experience can vary based on the local beliefs and stories about spirits or monsters that people have grown up with. As you awaken from your peaceful slumber, you realize that you are completely paralyzed, unable to move even a single limb. A sense of terror grips you as you struggle to regain control of your body, but it remains unresponsive. Suddenly, out of the corner of your eye, you catch a glimpse of movement. Your heart races as you feel an oppressive weight on your chest, as though someone or something is crushing you. You are trapped, helpless, and at the mercy of an unseen force. The ordeal seems to stretch on for an eternity until finally you break free from the paralyzing grip. You are left feeling dazed, bewildered, and frightened, unsure of what just transpired. But you are not alone. This phenomenon, known as sleep paralysis, is wide known and affects people from all walks of life, regardless of their cultural background. This condition can be very scary. Many people report seeing more than just shadows. Some see horrifying monsters or even people lurking by their bedside. As terrifying as all this can be, surely it's only a nightmare, right? Well, what if it was more than that? Could this condition kill you? To a small Southeast Asian ethnic group of refugees that immigrated to the United States in the 70s, this condition became a horrifying ordeal of life and death. The Da-Chaw was a terrifying sleep creature that originated from Hmong Folktales. Its appearance was not limited to that of an old woman, and some accounts even describe it as taking on the form of someone known to the victim who had died during the war. According to Hmong legend, the Da-Chaw was angered by the Hmong people's abandonment of their cultural traditions and homeland. Similar to sleep paralysis, many victims felt a crushing weight on their chest and saw the Da-Chaw looming over them. Tragically, over 100 Hmong people succumbed to this affliction, which was later referred to as SUNDS, by specialists who studied these mysterious deaths. While some attributed the deaths to cardiac arrest, the root cause behind these inexplicable deaths remain a mystery. Mercy Medical Center, located in the Central Valley of California, began doing something in 2009 to help treat Hmong patients when they started inviting shamans to the hospital. The shamans would place lucky objects at doorways and perform healing ceremonies and provide comfort and reassurance. The doctors heal the body, the shamans take care of the soul. The phenomenon of the Da-Chaw continues to haunt those who study it. Despite decades of research, there is still so much that we don't know about this mysterious affliction that struck down so many seemingly healthy young men. The eerie nature of this phenomenon is further compounded by the fact that it seems to defy scientific explanation. While various hypotheses have been proposed, from the possibility of genetic predisposition to environmental factors, none have been proven beyond doubt. As we delve deeper into the science behind Da-Chaw, we are left with more questions than answers, and the haunting realization that there are still mysteries in this world that we may never fully comprehend. The legacy of the Hmong refugees who lost their lives to this affliction serves as a reminder of the fragility of life and the tenuous grasp we have on our own mortality. It's a chilling reminder that there is still so much that we have to discover about the human body and the world that we inhabit. The Da-Chaw is said to be particularly dangerous to young children and pregnant women and those who are sick or weak. It is believed to be able to enter our homes and possessions and to cause illness, accidents, and other misfortunes. To protect themselves from the Da-Chaw, the Hmong people perform various rituals and ceremonies such as shamanic chants, offerings of food and drink, and the burning of incense and other sacred objects. They also use amulets and talismans to ward off evil spirits and avoid certain behaviors and actions that are believed to attract their attention. Overall, the legend of the TSog is a testament to the Hmong people's deep respect for the supernatural world and their belief in the power of ritual and tradition to protect themselves from harm. The Hmong people's traditions of folklore and mythology is steeped in dark tales of malevolent spirits such as the TSog. This vengeful ghost is said to be the restless soul of someone who suffered a violent or unjust death, seeking revenge on the living. Whether or not these spirits truly exist, their stories continue to haunt and fascinate, reminding us of the enduring power of the human imagination to conjure up terrifying and otherworldly creatures. So what do you think? Is it sleep paralysis, science, or some form of demons? Thank you all for watching another episode of Tales Told in the Dark. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you for everything. Please leave a comment. I love my comments. Share out. Please share out. And thank you guys so much for everything.
Every town has an Elm Street.